This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your live market chat Tuesday, March 14th, 2023. Another interesting day in the market. Volatility begets volatility. Speed up, speed down creates opportunities. Hopefully you are doing well, trading it, surviving, managing your positions, and not allowing the news to confuse you from moment to moment. I know a lot of people who aren't really following too deeply. If they can't, that's fine. But try to follow on Twitter. Again, try to pay attention on stock twits. I just don't have time to repeat myself dozens and dozens of times to folks. And I think we need to talk about everything that's going on. So again, please check out the Twitter. Drop in the education. Drop in the meta short today as well. Just a lot of stuff going on. And in general, I always tell people, if you're not prepared to trade, then you shouldn't be trading. If you don't know what's going on, you're not in the right headspace, you don't trust what's going on, you're not familiar, less is more here. The goal is just preserve, save yourself, do not blow out. Because I find people doing the dumbest things at the dumbest times, and it's not because they're idiots. It's I've been in that same position. You just go, what am I doing? Wait, why did I do that? Why am I doing this? What's going on? Again, if you're new to the channel, please check out Back to Basics. Created a website, or just added another channel with all the videos that I think are important in order. And on that note, let's get into it. I want to look at the financials first, because that's my favorite sector, the short. We did, and obviously took some off, and still have part of the core going. I took a little bit more off than I probably wanted to yesterday, but now I feel a little better about it, because considering it dropped almost 10%, which doesn't seem like a ton, but for the banking index, that is. And now what to do? Again, I'm probably going to let that stuff ride, and I'm looking for more tech shorts. I know a lot of people in general, what's the best way to describe it, don't understand volatility. I've tried to explain to people, you got to study what the market's like when the VIX spikes, right? V-bottoms. Do you believe in V-bottoms? I'm not much of a fan of them because I don't really believe them. Now, again, you could have a higher chop, but are we going to rip right back? In my opinion, absolutely not, especially not the financials. Probably not the market either. I've said this over and over. If you go look at the Credit Suisse credit default swaps, they're blowing out. You're seeing a lot of credit risk in treasuries, credit risk in European sovereign debt. You're seeing bank insurance policy. You're seeing everything that leads to credit tightening, recession, and even pain in the banking sector. And so, as I've always said, financials lead the market. Well, is somehow the market going to be immune to this? I don't think so, Tim. It's just a matter of time. That's my opinion. So be thoughtful, be careful, and this is the thing. If you're only trading options, this is where it gets so tricky, so hard every day. You don't know. So you got to be more aggressive with options trading around, because the people who didn't take any profits today are sitting there going, what do I do now? And I understand, because part of my account that is in options, that's not fully closed out. Yeah, I can see the pain in it. And so I can only imagine other folks who are 100% options, who aren't trading around their positions, who aren't in and out, who aren't trading in general, are just trying, it's going to be painful. So you either can't watch it and hope. And again, I hate the can't watch and hope scenario, but sometimes that's the best thing to do if you think the trend is down, or manage your positions and trade around them, which a lot of people, again, it's really hard to take profit when you're winning. It's really hard to add when everything looks so scary, essentially, right? And that's what happens when the market popped this morning. It's like, I guess it still is technically popping, holding up. So just be careful. Let's run through our favorite names. Let's just watch everything. TLT. Talked about this blowing off yesterday. All right, we'll see what happens here. Now again, bond volatility, up, down, don't really care too much. Dollar, up, down, left, right, All right, here you go. We'll see what happens here. Concerned for the dollar in general. We'll see what happens. I think it could rise some more, but we'll keep an eye on it. Your favorite IWM. Look at this rally. Pop back. Doji. Man, this is real volatility, y'all. This is look at these gaps. They were like, oh, look at the huge volume. Okay, well, remember, there's exit liquidity. It's not going to be just as much as I'd love to say, hey, you're going down, always. It's a process. That's what you got to keep in mind. Look at the monthly on the IWM. We've talked about it. It just could not get over this 190s. And now what? chopping before the dropping. That's my opinion. Chopping before the dropping. Will it be tomorrow? Will it be next week? I hope so for folks with options and myself and my options trades. It's sooner than later. That's all I can really say. I mean, gold talked about, you can't really chase it, but it feels like a bottom. But here's the problem. Ultimately, is just keep an eye on it. As I've said, if things get crazy, will people buy gold, Bitcoin? Probably. But if things get really crazy and they throw the baby out with the bathwater, this is where I'd be watching now, right? I'd probably be watching the 20-month, which ends up being where we bottomed at. I'd watch the 168s. Can you chase it here? I mean, that's a violation of all risk management. You go right ahead. If that's what you feel is right, I personally would not do that. Again, I hate chasing because I love when things come to me. And if they don't come to me, what usually happens is this is what will happen for 90% of folks who bought gold yesterday. It might go a little higher. Maybe. Again, who knows? If it doesn't, it's going to rip right down back on them, and they go, well, damn, now what do I do? And that whole what do I do now because of chasing is what I hate more than anything. Because once you get caught in that, like, what do you do now? What if this ends up just getting flat, beaten back down to, I don't know, 165? What if it goes lower? Again, when the VIX spikes, prices go beyond support resistance very easily, right? Because it's emotional. People are just losing their crap. That would hurt. So that's where, having done that, it feels like a million times in trading in the past. It's just like, I just won't do it. Now people go, oh, you missed the move. Okay. Well, I don't think we have. Now, missed the bottom? No. Got in here. Closed out positions. Trading this, it's a little harder in my opinion. If you like gold moving 3 or 4%, what do you think of the financial short? What do you think of some of these tech moves potentially, right? So that's where you have to weigh the risk versus reward and the best outcome. You want to make a couple percent, or do you want to trade higher probability, bigger moves potentially? That's just always going to be the battle in your head, where people can't pivot, right? They go, oh, well, I'm just going to trade gold. And it's like, okie dokie. If that's what you want to do, go right ahead. I personally would just pivot from it. Now, again, silver, same thing. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's oversold, squeeze, gap, should lead to higher highs if this is a professional gap. No one's going to argue that. It's just, is it the best trade out there? I have a hard time believing that. Apple posted in Discord room. Man, wow, I can't believe we got to 153. Yesterday's highs. Keep an eye on it. What else? Meta, shorting this one over the 190s. Feels like an absolute gift. We'll see. Again, I think this is more of a novice gap trap again, because, again, they can lay off as many people as they want. Problem is that they have to lay off people because the company's not really generating more income, isn't doing better. It's just the perception of layoffs that they're going to do better ultimately in time. Personally think this is kind of like MySpace. They're closing down all their NFT business. And again, I hate even talking about the fundamentals. Whatever. If the market goes down, this is going down. Just keep it that simple. NVIDIA, now this is where it gets ricketing, right? The rioting around, like jumping around. Holding the 20-day, coming right back up. Does it go back to the highs? I haven't traded any NVIDIA today. Kind of just watching it. Just did Apple and Meta. We'll see. It makes sense to me to short up here. What price? I don't know. Tesla, this thing was a doozy. Now it hits the 50 days. It's probably going to get to the 8-day. I probably watched the low 180s. Oh, did I forget to go? Let me go through the Qs real quick because I think this is what's important to watch. We talked about possibly testing up the 20-day. Short arm it. Well, is it going to get there? It's going to try to get there, potentially. Does it wick again? Is this a professional gap? I don't know. We've seen these gaps before, right? Pop, chop, flop. I personally believe, again, nothing's safe. This is just, once you open Pandora's box, the contagion isn't just figured out in one day. And what's scary is, they're backstopping all deposits. Well, what is there, $10 trillion worth of deposits to insure? They only got $100 billion, $200 billion. They're going to raise another 63 or something I was reading. Again, the numbers are just, it's like 1% to backstop all deposits. And they can't do that. So you're going to see people, and this is, I can't remember who said it this morning. I was looking on Twitter. I thought this was a really intelligent comment. Give me 2 seconds to pull it up because I agree with this. It's same. It said, come on, load. The exact comments were, Give me 2 seconds. I don't know why it's not popping up. All right, the Great Crash of 1929. One line, paraphrase branded in my brain. This has always been two. The pros will tell you everything is okay all the way to the bottom. Right? If you're new to trading, you don't understand that concept. Do you guys not remember 2008? The credit agencies, what did they do at the lows? They downgraded banks at the lows. They didn't do it at the highs. They did it literally at the lows. Right? So you're going to hear everything's fine. Which again, I mean, this is the thing. There might be time between the next issue. We don't know that. We don't know anything for sure. We'd assume that issues are going to what? Play out as they must over time. But this is the thing. Today, tomorrow, next week, it's so hard, my friends. It's so hard to know for sure. But do we believe in V-bottoms? I'm not really one of those fans. People say, oh, look, it got back over the 200. Okay. We'll see. I mean, if the only way that Meta, Microsoft, some of these companies can go up is by cutting employees, I mean, how much fat do they really need to cut? That's the question. And how profitable will they be going forward in a recession, right? Because this is the thing. Once the banks start this stuff up, credit contraction. You have to remember, like, who's going to be out there just throwing money around to lend right now? How do you see confidence in that? I don't. All right, so let's run through some of the names. Meta, just chop in here. Market trying to go back at the high. SMH, man, back to the 244, 245 area. God, could it get to 246? I don't know. I'd be keeping an eye on it. NVIDIA around 240. Showed that one Taiwan Semi doing a little rally dance here. Okay. 50-day, 20-day. I mean, if it hits the 20-day, take it. I think that's an easy trade. First Solar, where are you at, my friend? Popping up. 210, okay, 28-day, 10-day, we'll see. I mean, it just went from 218 down to 202. Nice little move, 10%, bounce back. Okay, again, watch Apple, 153. What else? FAS, XLF, JP Morgan. I feel like I'm missing something, but it is what it is. If you have any questions, please, let's get into it. I don't think there's really too much to talk about other than, okay, you got the bounce. Is the CPI the reason? No. Again, I've tried to warn people, like, don't focus on the CPI. Focus on the headlines and what's going on elsewhere, because that's what's really more important. And talked about Apollo, KKR, BlackRock talking about buying assets from SVIB. Well, that's the headline that matters. Right? Bitcoin coming up. Okay. I mean, again, this is why I'm like shorting gold, Bitcoin. I don't know if this whole mess is done yet, but either way, those have never really been on my mind as short as I've said. I mean, I think you have this issue where, again, defensiveness, the market drops. I don't want things that potentially could get bought. I prefer to stay away from the things that have any interest from the masses. As hedges, whatever you want to call it. Now, again, will they throw the baby out with the bathwater? Probably at some point. But is there easier trades? You know, it's kind of like watching natural gas. I mean, I'm just laughing at folks who I just feel like that's the best trade. And I'm like, all right, well, okay, do whatever you say. Best trade ever, maybe? No. I mean, it's just kind of chopping around. All right, here we go. What do we got now? SPY, 392. All right, here you go, the 250. I mean, does it have to test back to here? It's over yesterday's highs. It feels like it probably should now. That's the question, right? Added some shorts this morning, going to let it just play out. In some heat, naturally. Again, if you didn't take, unless you took 100% of profits yesterday, which if you did, soothsayer, you did it better than I. Congrats. If you are looking to add, this is, I mean, again, need one more day, maybe. Tomorrow you got, what? Empire State, retail sales, business inventories, NAHB, PPI. Is it going to be a replay of just the whole, oh, hey, the banks are, look, things are better. You know, focus on this, guys, focus on this. Banks are good, PPI's coming down, CPI's coming down, woohoo, everyone get excited. Reality is what? No, financials or health are not strong at all. Again, if they want to pump more money into it, we'll see if it matters. In the near term, it probably gets people excited. Longer term, again, I don't see how banks ultimately can benefit from this, because I think people now are starting to become aware of the fractional banking system, fractional reserve banking system. There's no money in the systems, right? There's no money. Go try to, like, I think I told you this. I was like, hey, I'm going to go try to take out 25 grand from the bank. I've heard it's like, 10 days, 2 weeks. I did this, not last week, the week before that. They said it would take 4 weeks. It's like 25 grand is not a lot of cash. You guys don't even have 25 fucking grand in the bank? In the bank. So, again, the problem is the fractional reserve banking system. I mean, does it fail eventually? Seems very logical. And here's the problem with a lot of these banks that bought treasuries, right? The analogy is like, they bought all this stuff. If they didn't hedge their duration, nobody wants a treasury yielding 1.75% for 30 years. Like, that's absolute dog crap. Like, nobody wants that, right? Who wants any of that stuff that has these low interest rates when inflation, CPI, again, is what it is right now? Would you want it? What's the mark to market for some of this stuff? Not good. So people buy it, pennies on the dollar, I guess. I mean, that's what the logic that they're saying here is the Fed will backstop and buy this stuff. But, doesn't the Fed have other fires to put out? Don't they got to buy the government debt next? Can they just eat up all of this stuff? I don't think they have a mouth wide enough to dispose of all the junk. Where are we at? Apple back at 153. Keep an eye on that. What is it? NVIDIA. Man, fire. NVIDIA is just catching it. Look at Intel. I was watching that earlier. Tesla trying to get the 180s. No, not much. Meta just chilling around 190. If you have any questions, again, pretty quiet. I think people, I don't know, hope people are comfortable in the unknown. I mean, that's what you have to be. People don't realize, I don't think they kind of ever get used to that. Like, you have thoughts, beliefs, ideas, but certainty, hard. Volatility, you expect volatility up and down. The VIX, it's hard. How are the bank stocks? Check BOA. I mean, I know how the bank stocks are. They're popping today, as they should, right? Like, that's the thing. Volatility begets volatility. You don't go down in a straight line. Did anyone here trade 2008, 2009? I mean, you see the banks? Not Boeing. BAC. Yeah, they don't really look that great. But here, do we even have it? Yeah, I guess. Give me a second. I'll show you guys how all this played out. Gotta go back in the time machine. What year are we in right there? It's been, these banks have gone nowhere forever. What year is this? 2013. All right, here. We're not even back there yet. Yeah, they do look like pumps and dumps. I agree. They definitely do. So look at this from 2008 to 2009, right? Like, you get bounce back and then lower, bounce and then So where are we at? I don't know. I mean, it feels like the bounce back's a little too aggressive. Yeah, I mean, everything looks. Let's go to the current XLF, right? The irony with the XLF, when you look at it, though, and this is what I think people need to be very cognizant of, is that think of like that choppy range what we just saw on Bank of America that was like in the past, right, from 2008, like it consolidated for weeks, months. This is a big consolidation. Is it done? I don't know. Does it make sense that we would not break below the range lows at some point? Yeah, I think so. It's just a matter of when. Again, not if. Now, if it rallies a little bit, and this is the thing, the straight line moves, I'd love to see every day go down. We talk about this. Is it possible? The market really doesn't really work like that, unfortunately. As much as you want it to. Unless there's, again, the market's different than individual stocks, right? They can get absolutely blasted. AMD, what is the pop? Did you get AMD? No, I'm not getting an AMD. I've been looking more at NVIDIA, Apple, Meta today. It looks very similar to NVIDIA, just trying to retest in the highs. Now, again, light volume here. will be a really juicy. Yeah, I mean, I personally think if you get, this is the thing I think people are looking at when they look at the XLF. I mean, I think if I'm a bear to bull, I want the break down below it, back, and then a back up. Like, you know, like I want to set the trap, like this kind of trap, like go below these levels. Like I want 29s minimum, maybe even 28s. That to me is the juicier short, or going long. Sorry, going long. The 29 or 30 level, or sorry, 30 level. I mean, I don't think that's the ideal spot in my opinion. I'd look for much lower. So, I mean, because think about it, the trap is the best. Like, the higher highs sucks people in. The lower low, like, that'll create the liquidity trap to get people unloading. Now, here becomes the hardest part, though, with XLF. Right? Like, think about this for a minute. Chop, drop, chop. Like, look at this big chop drop. Like, could it be just a effing waterfall? That's the question you got to ask yourself, is could it be the waterfall? Because think of this as like leg one. First dip gets bought, whatever. Nah. This, when it breaks, I mean, it could just open the dam. I mean, maybe you have to get back down to the COVID lows. Ooh, zinger. You don't know. Again, this is where it gets hard. European debt, American debt, CDS is kind of growing. You're seeing issues with all the different credit default swaps for Credit Suisse, some of the other European banks. I mean, I'd love to tell you it's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, that would imply that I'm from the future. I'm not. Wells Fargo. Yeah, I mean, these all look like they're ready to go. You know, like they ever heard, like, no such thing as a triple top. Oop, there was a triple top. Yesterday was a sell day. Today doesn't feel like a red day. Doesn't feel like a red day. I don't know. It's Tuesday. Could Thursday turn into a red day? This is the problem with the market right now. It's not driven by CPI or PPI or any of the data. It's driven by the headlines. That's kind of my thinking here. You don't know. And this is the thing, like, there's gonna be, and this is what's so hard, is there's gonna be a ton of like BS headlines that pop out, right? Like, there's gonna be, oh, look, someone's buying them out, and this is something like someone's taking conservatorship, and it's like, no. Are they? No. You know, I mean, do people remember the Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers stuff? Like, and it's literally the quote I posted, don't believe. I mean, I'll drop it again. I will go right back to it, right? Where is it? Is it this one? Oops, I got so many damn screens. Give me a second. I said it. Like, don't believe these. You know, don't believe if everything's good until it's, you know, the pros will tell you everything is okay on the way to the bottom. That's the problem here. Do I do these live chats daily? I might do them 2 or 3 times a week, but I do a daily market recap every day. I talked about this. I've been pretty on point with this stuff. Now, again, perfection, if that's what you're looking for, move on. Or be honest with yourself. Like, it's really not. Can't be perfect. It's just, that's the reality of it. Again, especially when you understand the market's being emotional. When the VIX starts getting in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, like, support resistance goes out the window. And now it's all emotion, right? It's just all emotion at that point. Yeah, Credit Suisse, that is not good. Some of the stuff, here you go. Eurodollar, future quotes, CDS. Yeah, this is what's crazy. FDIC only has one time securing $9.9 trillion of balance sheet. Oh, gosh. Good luck with that. Again, I mean, I've been telling people, if you have money in places, you absolutely need to make sure you have below the FDIC limits. Be careful. Certain accounts with certain institutions might or might not be considered. Like, if they're different types of products versus just, you know, say your brokerage account, different products and IRAs versus, say, a traditional checking, saving, money market account. They all have slightly different regs. I mean, again, I've always told this to people too, you know, the markets at some point, if it really ever ends, your money is trapped. good luck getting it back real quick. You might get it at some point, but the realization that if you don't have anything stored on the side, cash, metals, something tradable, I don't know. Again, I'd hate to say that day it'll happen, but it hasn't happened yet, so that's the only thing going for it. But you never know. This is what, again, when back in 2007, 2008, we moved all of our money out of all the big, we had Wachovia. Who was the other bank in North Carolina? It went out. Well, anyway, moved to First Citizens and didn't have any issues, so didn't have any issues, luckily. Where you at? First Solar coming back down. Yeah, they will. You'll hear the same thing all the way down to the bottom. Everything's fine until you hit the bottom. Everything's fine until you hit the bottom. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? Yeah. Do you feel like today's relatively low volume? When you say low volume, yeah, it is going to be relatively low. Like you don't have the same headlines, right? You're not getting the same kind of absolute thrashing. So of course the volumes are going to be lighter. Complacency. You're getting the market rallying. People don't believe it. So of course the volume should be lighter and as it rallies. But this gap up is really dangerous. I don't think people realize this. Like these gap ups after and again, if we're at the bottom, different. I don't think we're at the bottom personally. Because if you look at this big chop zone, especially when you look at the SPY, like it just feels like it's leading to lower actually. Right? This is the pain here. If this pops and then flops, it's part of the trend, right? Like you don't go down every day. And as I've told people, the more you're up, the less you should own. You got to be very careful. Because again, bearishness is a trade. And honestly, as we've, not honestly, but in general, as you know or should know, the market wants to rally. Aggressive rallies aren't bullish. I tell these people all the time, like, you want chop. Because that means the market makers are now setting the floor. When they rip this stuff up, more likely they're going to be distributing, right? Right? These quick rallies, pow, faded. Quick rally faded, then you found the chop bottom. Quick rally faded, right? Quick rally faded. You got to be careful with that. You don't want to see that if you're a bull. You want the choppy bottom. You want the choppy bottom because then the market makers are securing the floor. I'm selling the pops. Maybe we should see the October lows. After 12 years of go-go markets, hard for me to believe that they're anywhere close to starting a new upcycle. Again, if you've been following the channel, we literally said when. This was the top. Talked about this being the topping action in November, December. Talked about the bull trap. Same thing we saw recently where you chop, 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 and you make a new high and then fail. Chop, 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 new high and fail. So, yeah, low volume is definitely easy to manipulate. That is a fact. Well, think about it. I always tell people, like, they line up the market orders at the open for the buys. And so retail is just like all in. They're just not all in, but you know what I mean? Like they're just lining up their buy orders. They go, oh, prices are up, I'm buying. Prices are up, I'm buying. They don't think about anything other than what? Higher prices are the best advertising for higher prices. Oh, if the market's up today on bad news, it's got to go higher. Market's down on market's down on bad news, it's going to the ground. Right? Here's the biggest issue that I have ultimately with the psychology of where we're at right now is that you don't bottom when everyone's excited and happy. Like yesterday did not seem that dismal to me. Look at the action, right? Everyone getting excited. Like, oh, the feds are going to figure this out. Feds got us. Feds got this, dog. Whatever you want to say. Feds for the win. Okay. If that's what you want to believe, I find that hard to believe, essentially. Because, again, it's one of those things where at the lows, people aren't going to be excited. We've said this ultimately. You'll know you're at the bear market bottom when everyone's going, I hate stocks. Your Uber drivers who used to, talk about trading, your friends, your family members, your cousin, you name it. Your hairstylist, your neighbor. Oh, you still trading? Nah, I kind of gave up. Oh, why is that? Oh, the market sucks. Got it. Now you're at the lows. Are we there yet? It's hard to say yes, in my opinion. No, I would think again. But this is a process. And everyone's trying to use the past always as the yardstick for the future, which, again, it helps. But sometimes it's got to be more of the art of it. Like, is the 2009 chart gonna look exactly like today's chart or current chart? Probably not. Right? How do you know you're getting closer to the end? Right? You're going to see the straight line moves down. You're going to see like and no buying. Well, this is not that deep of a drop, in my opinion. I mean, 406 to 381. I mean, that's, I don't know, healthy little correction. You could imply that. So, I don't know. Got any questions, thoughts, concerns? I wish you could predict every day, and it's like, man, I really get frustrated. Not even frustrated, just more like wasting time, like trying to explain, like, what's going on. If you don't know what's going on, you shouldn't be trading. I mean, that's just the craziest thing. Oh, I don't know who to follow, where to follow. I try to post as much as I can, but in general, just read the headlines. You don't need to dig too deep in the details, because the details are usually what? They're more of an advertisement. Look at the headline and go, is that real? Is that bullshit? Does that seem real? Oh, they figured this all out in one day? Really? Okay. You don't think there's going to be any blowback from this? Okay. Then you see European banks starting to hit the shit. Again, all these guys. Remember, think about all the negative interest rate debt that banks are sitting on in Europe. What do you want to mark to market that at? Right? Who wants that? I don't even know. Can't remember. Who wants that negative Japanese yielding debt? Who wants that negative Italian debt? Nobody. That stuff is worthless. That stuff is absolutely mark-to-market zero. Do you guys remember that? They issued debt with negative interest rates? Do you want to tell me what the value of that is? You want to know the mark-to-market on that, right? Talk about a market that's probably illiquid. But again, you're not going to hear about it until it matters, potentially, right? That's the hardest part here. No, you're welcome, MQ. Again, just somebody trying to be honest versus trying to have an agenda here and push narratives and try to push viewership and subscribership. I've helped and managed money in my lifetime, and I absolutely hate it because, again, I have to fight the battle of your mental and my clients' mental attitudes. It's like, why am I, you put your money with me, you trust me, and then it's like, well, you're going to question everything. It's like, I don't even, like, why even do this? Well, I read this, Dan. I read that. I read this. Okay, I read too. What's your point? Does that make sense? Like, you do this on your own. Manage your own mental fortitude here. I think you'll do fine. Don't have to worry about everyone else. And everyone's always like, oh, I try to tell my brother, my sister, my dad, my mom, hey, they need to move their money. Dude, no. It's too late to give them any advice. It's just too late. You're not fixing anybody. And if anything, if the market rallies as soon as you tell them to take profits because they'll do it at the lows, you're going to look like the idiot for giving them that advice. Because, again, think about it. If you tell them, like, hey, you should probably take your money out of the market. And then what? It rallies? Just like it did today, and they're going, oh, what the hell? Why did I do that? Well, what's the plan now? That's the problem. Now you've got to own their success and how they manage it. Oh, but now what? Well, I don't know. That's all you can really tell them. You don't know when the bottom is. It's going to be next. Again, I get that question. I mean, we recommended high levels of cash at the end of 2021. Incredible. Like, pushing it. What do you think I get every week, every month, every quarter? When do we put the money back in? I personally don't think it's worth really taking that risk. What do you mean? The market's up today. Oh, no. Okay, well, yeah. All right, we'll be down tomorrow, and then it'll be up tomorrow, and the day after that. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Do you think things have flushed out? Things are at their best? No. It's a process, right? Remember, the end is painful. It's straight line, goodbye, sayonara. Just kapow. We're not there yet. We're just not there yet. Again, name the time the Feds navigated a soft landing. I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for someone to answer that. Name a bear market, a legitimate bear market, because this is a bear market, where the VIX max pain is in the 30s. Get the out of here. Come on, man. Anybody who's calling that is an idiot. I mean, how many times did the VIX spike into the 40s just because of other stuff, other credit issues, other global issues, COVID? The market's bottom with the VIX at 38. Get out of here with that crap. Absolute silliness. But if it doesn't, I mean, look how long this is taking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, at worst, you're going to have that. So, again, I can wrap this up if anyone has any questions. It's just one of those things where, man, look at the VIX. Wow. 22s, what is it at? 43. This is a little delayed. What can you do? I mean, you'd love to say, hey, I know for a fact I have to take all of my shorts off and the market's going to rally. We talked about the compression leading to higher. But is it just going to do this? Chop and then go? All right? Is this like a pullback before it goes higher? That would be my guess. This is not a one-day event. This banking stuff is not a one-day event. Today, tomorrow, yeah. I mean, again, I try to tell people, like, give yourself time here. If you are short, if you got puts or whatever you're doing. Yeah, I mean, later this week, maybe it's next week. I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe it's St. Patrick's Day bloodbath. Maybe there's dead leprechauns everywhere. Murder in the streets. The point being, ultimately, though, is you know, don't put yourself in a pickle with time. If you could remove one variable from trading, and you could pick locations, and you could just remove time, that's the key here. Bounce at some point. Like, that's too fast, too furious down. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? People frustrated with what's going on? I get it. Come on, I'm looking at these. I really want to see these ag names drop. No, I appreciate the Jason. I appreciate that. It's not. I mean, again, people try to get what I would consider. What's the best way to say? You're not trying to necessarily be right. You're just trying to do what the market's going to do. What's my preferred short between Apple, Meta, Nvidia? Oh man, I think all three are absolutely amazing. I don't know. I think they all have their levels. Yeah, need to focus on what's not moving, like oil. I mean, I would focus on... Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really focused on oil. It doesn't look like it's going higher. That's all I can really say. It could be chopping. I'm not really watching oil, no. That's not really what I'd be watching. I'd be watching these stocks at their inflection points at the highs. I'd be watching the indexes. I'd be watching the financials. Oil up, oil down, I don't know. I mean, oil could rally on a freaking geopolitical stuff. Bricks, I mean, I don't know if that's not what I'd be watching at all. It's like saying let's watch natural gas. What's that effect on the economy? No, I don't think I'd really watch that either. Watch how the leaders act. Watch how commodities as a whole act. Watch how financials act. I mean, that's the thing. The market is the market. It's when people look at one thing. Moody's just downgraded banks. Congratulations. Where you guys been? Yeah, I mean, some of them go from A to AA, AAA batteries to AA batteries. I mean, that's interesting that they would do that here. I mean, I like Apple here. I think, again, this is a straight line move. If we're calling it a cup and handle, it just looks like a death trap here, trapping people higher. Meta, we talked about 189 plus. Could you get back up into the upper 190s, mid 190s? We'll see. I mean, it feels like a lower high novice gap trap. Someone asked Nvidia. I can't believe it got up back at 240. That's crazy. But back up against range highs, I think that looks fine. Keep in mind, you zoom out, you look on the monthly. You've got this area right here. I mean, look at these wicks. Look at that. Remember, volatility. It moves. Banks are first to report in April. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's so far off now. I think again the headlines that you need to focus on are what happening within the bank credit markets. Like how are the credit markets handling how the feds are trying to like add liquidity? Because again, I mean, there's not enough in my opinion. They need trillions of dollars at this point, and printing such would create. I mean, I think you're already seeing nobody wants treasuries. I mean, look at today, right? Like the market, you would think, and this is what's kind of interesting, right? Like, look at treasuries. I mean, this is not what they want. They want lower rates. Do you think the Fed pivots on March? No, fuck no. Go Fed fund futures rates. Go look at it. You should save this link. It'll tell you what they're going to do. 87.8% chance that they're going to raise 0.25%. Let me pull it down so you can see it. Save this link. I posted it in the chat. This will tell you what they're doing. 1 month ago. There you go. That's all you need. I mean, again, and I've said this in a bazillion times. If the odds are over 2 or 63%, the feds have committed to whatever that was every single time. If it gets 50-50, now that's when the market's really going to get confused. If later on it gets 50-50, that's where it gets real. That's when you'll see the market probably, I don't know, honestly. And even this is the thing. I mean, are you guys not familiar? Like, the Fed pivot is not good. The Fed pivot confirms game over. I posted this video on YouTube. Hopefully somebody watched it. And if you've seen the past, you know the Fed pivot is not good. The Fed pivot means, oh shit. Where's that picture? Let me see if I can find it. The Fed pivot is not the start of goodness. That's the start of the end. Let me see if I can. Where did I? Give me a second. Where did it go? Where did you go now? It's got to be in here. Yep, here we go. Hey friends, getting a lot of questions about what to do with the market. Fed pivots. What to expect next. Just want to warn people that we are in the cycle of Fed tightening, and when they go to potentially pivot, if they do decide to pivot, that's because the economy and the markets will probably be getting weaker. We're starting to see the first signs of the market cracking. Whatever, don't need a. That's a video from whatever last week or something. Point being is, if they are pivoting and you're buying, you are an idiot. The feds will only pivot after going from rate hikes to rate cuts unless things are getting worse. Keep that in mind. They'd rather go neutral and not do anything. Oh, thanks. Thanks, ma'am. I mean, I tried to make that a little easier for folks. Because people are like, what's the best order for watching this stuff? And it's like, well, it's all beginner down to more advanced. It literally gets more advanced the further you go down. So, hope that helps. Let's see if someone's got something funny to say. Nope. Usually I get a lot of just junk. Talking junk. Added Saxis 9. That's good. Good. Yep, good to add here. Yeah, any more questions, thoughts, concerns? Yeah, watching oil. The only thing I'd watch with oil is what happens at the 72s. If that breaks, yeah, then maybe the economy is softening. Man, 393 exactly on the SPY. How did I miss that? Give me 2 seconds. I don't want to go just yet. Man, TLT, that's interesting. Nobody's buying bonds. Yeah, look at that. 200 day. 200. All right, well. But it's because of the CPI. No, it's not. No, it's because of the headlines that they're trying to portray that banks are buying banks and everything's going to be fine. CPI rate at this point is totally irrelevant because it's all looking backwards. The backward-looking data, right? Backward-looking data doesn't matter. It just doesn't. That's where you have to start now, like, separate yourself from it. Like, what's tomorrow's PPI? I mean, it probably doesn't matter. Retail sales. That could be more important because, again, everyone knows, like, inflation in general should be what? Moderating compared to last year, the 9% September highs? Yeah, or whatever the highs were last year? Yes. At this point, it's it's going to be more of the economic data, in my opinion, that relates to non-CPI stuff. Like, how's the consumer doing, right? But just be aware. Headlines. This is what gets so hard about trading when the VIX spikes and everyone gets freaking. Still no buyer for the FDIC auction. Again, I mean, I'm waiting for the European auctions when they try to sell off negative interest rate debt. Oh man, that's going to be just absolutely comical. Absolutely comical. I don't know when that's going to happen, but all right. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Probably we'll be doing a later recap today. Oh man. Today, is it Tuesday? Turnaround Tuesday is going to be a choppy week. I mean, that VIX, I mean, you've done enough VIX extermination for a week. I mean, literally going from 28 down to 22s. I mean, could you get to the 100-day? I mean, I guess. No, you guys are welcome. Again, I'm not here with an agenda. I'm not here to make money off of people. I'm trying to teach people, and again, then the folks who understand this, they want to chip off donations. I appreciate it. Again, I mean, it's one of those things. I live in this mindset of abundance. No matter what happens, one losing trade leads to a winning trade. Education is learned from mistakes. You can get a lot of knowledge from experience, and so that's where I think people will start appreciating and getting involved. Because they go, holy crap, you've literally been watching the markets for 20 plus years. Almost every day, off and on, for the most part. Yeah, I've seen traps. I've seen how the market performs. I see how things are going. What's going on with Micron? It's dumping quick. Yeah, there's just a lot to know. And this is the thing. Like, you have your rules, you have your thoughts, you have your processes. But in the end, you realize a lot about the market. It's just, what is your interpretation? Like, are you super emotional? Are you the type of person that gets super high when you're winning, super low when you're losing? Do you get frustrated when you make a mistake? How you react to mistakes? Because that's 90% of it. Like, the people who go into like a hole when they make mistakes, you just let your mistake own you versus like, all right, I made a mistake. How do I make sure to not make it again? That's where the value of the mistake is. It's not, oh gosh, people lose their confidence. It drives me crazy when they're like working so hard and they make a mistake and they go, well, the market, I lost confidence. And I'm like, you made a mistake. It's like, do you see Tom Brady throw an interception and just quit? You see your favorite basketball player miss a jump shot and then it's like, game over, I'm done, I'm walking off, I'm going to sit on the bench. You see your favorite golfer make a mistake and then they just get off, they grab their caddy and leave. No, but traders do that left and right. It drives me crazy. I'm like, what is your going? It doesn't drive me crazy. I'm like, do you guys not even see your problems here? The market's too hard. Wish you were better, right? Oh, the market, I wish the market was easy. No, wish you were more educated. Like, I always like these analogies seem so bullshit and just feel like repetitive, but I'm being dead serious. Like, people don't get that. That was one of my favorite sayings when I got into finance. Don't wish the markets were easier. Wish you were smarter. Wish you were better. Wish you managed risk better. Because again, everybody wishes it was easy. That's never going to change. That ain't happening. So you get that out of your mindset that, oh, the market's going to be easy. Then you start having what? Humility. You start going, all right, I respect the market. I want to learn from it. I'm not going to sit here every day and go, I'm going to guess what it's like flipping cards. Oh, heads. Or flipping coins. Oh, heads, tails, heads. No. Oh, trading is just this random game of, chaos. I mean, partially, yes, but then there's the art to it. Then there's the market in itself, like the news headlines. Like, you've got to evolve mentally. You've got to evolve mentally to the point where, all right, well, I'm going to be humble. I'm treating this like a business. I'm not some gambling numbnuts. Because if you treat this like gambling, like, it ends all the same. It's just a matter of when. Oh, I made a bunch of money buying calls on this yesterday, and then I'm buying put. All right. You buy a ton of anything, and at some point, one wrong means you're all gone, potentially. Just people don't learn that. Yeah, I mean, but the thing about risk management ultimately is that, like, you have to experience it. Like, you have these rules, and people violate them constantly. yeah, I probably get a little mad at my selling mistakes, then calm down and try to. Yeah, Shannon, this is the thing about mistakes. It's how you choose to react to them, right? And it sounds like, for you working through like getting over them, but for me personally in trading, I go, well, if I knew all the information I knew and I tried to make the best judgments and I was wrong, well, then am I going to get mad about it? I can't. I tried to do I asked myself, was I trading well? Did I try to do the best with what I could? If I went back in time and tried to change anything, really would I have changed much? And if I can say to myself, no, you did the best with what you could at the time with the knowledge you had. You can't predict the news. You can't predict the headlines. You can't predict. I mean, that's what's so funny about technicals. We're like, oh, I'm technically driven all the time. I'm like, you can't predict everything always with technicals. If it was just as easy as getting on the charts and drawing, everybody would be fucking rich. It's not like that. So, hope that helps. Silver pumping a little bit. Man, nobody wants treasuries. This is interesting. The dollar kind of chopping around. The VIX is trying to hold. So, all right. Well, I hope this helps. Again, the mindset is 99% of this. Again, it's how you interpret the market. Like, you either get pissed about it or you start getting like super bearish and then you can't be bullish when you need to be, or you get super bullish and you can't flip, you can't pivot, you can't mentally read the news and go, all right. Well, again, they're always going to tell you everything's great until you hit the bottom. Like, I mean, if you pick up anything from this video, that's literally what it is, right? Everything's fine until it's not, right? Just keep that in mind. Like, that's what you're always going to hear. So take that out of, the noose right there. Like, oh, everything's fine, SVIB. I mean, literally, yeah, like what? Last week, I mean, not maybe last week, like a month ago, Kramer's recommending it as a buy, right? He doesn't know shit. Doesn't know what's going on. Yeah, you're welcome, Shannon. SVB had no risk management from April, no hedging swaps against. Yeah, and that's the problem. Nobody's hedging anything. I mean, again, I don't want to get political here, but they literally had a bunch of woke idiots managing their portfolio. They didn't know what to do. Go woke, go broke. Now, again, I'm all for people getting opportunities to exceed, but I don't even know how to say this without sounding mean or something. I want someone experienced in managing the portfolio, not somebody that has critical race theory masters in that. I don't want people managing my business, my banks, my money, my anything, unless they have qualifications of understanding it. Now, this whole like equality thing, great, give people opportunities. I mean, that's fine. But high levels of control in the systems and government, no, that's a problem. When you get a bunch of idiots. And again, it's like they don't even, I don't even know how to best explain it. Like, you appoint someone who's not experienced, shouldn't be there. Well, don't be surprised when there's problems, right? You can say a lot about people in any government or positions of power. There's a lot of numbnuts. But that's where you're going to get these problems. And hence where I think, if anything, you're going to see in time, right? Like, what's the best way to describe it? You put people in positions of power, responsibility, that don't know what they're doing. Well, I mean, it's almost like they're intentionally going to be worked, what I would call worked to have something cause a problem, right? Like, it's easy. Again, I'm thinking next level billions kind of thought process. Like, if I wanted to collapse a system or create a mistake, you gotta you don't want to be the person to catch the problem, but you can be the one who can manifest great benefit from it, right? I'm not trying to pretend that I'm Soros or anything, but that's what Soros does, right? He plants the seeds for destruction and the things that he wants to short. Yep. Easily puppets. I mean, if my wife could listen, she could hear. I mean, literally at her old job, I mean, they had a yes person who just didn't know anything about managing nurse practitioners. All of them are leaving. The department's falling apart. And the doctors are just kind of like, they don't care. They literally don't care. I mean, this happens everywhere, though. That's the reality. The people want somebody who's just going to say yes to the people above them, ultimately, or put in a position of power where they can be easily controlled and manipulated, right? They can be told, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. Okay. Sure, whatever you say, puppet master, right? Or whatever you want to call it. All right. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns before we go? Please be thoughtful, be safe. If you had some shorts, some calls, whatever you're trading around it, covered calls, congrats. Do what you got to do. Turn around Tuesday, maybe. Honestly, maybe all the puts that got bought on Thursday, Friday, got to get eviscerated, which Could it mean that we hold up for longer? Does it mean necessarily that we have to rise? That's the hard part. Probably, maybe not. I think part of this would be, the velocity, the amplitude coming in, controlling the implied volatilities by crushing the IV. That's probably the best thing here. Now, does, certain stocks that you follow going to break out? Probably not. Yeah, what's the question? What's your question before you go? That's all I'd watch for. I mean, I'm probably not going to watch a ton of it. At this point, nothing. It could be another day. Again, we don't know. It's all super headline driven. This is what's so hard. People get very technical and they go, all right, well, this has to happen here and it's going to go to there and I'm going to short this. And man, I'd like Apple 153. Oops, it went at 152, 153.25, 32, whatever. I don't know. I just don't know. All right. If someone has a question, hold on a second. You got a second to type. And then I'm going to wrap it up. Blowing out people's puts, but why don't they blow out people's calls? What are you talking about? They blow out people's calls left and right. I mean, they blow out both sides of the table. What do you mean, can I explain? Options buyers are meant to all go to zero. That's the goal of the market makers. They don't want, again, retail buys options. Hedges are purchased. Right? They prefer options to go to zero. Is that not obvious? I thought it was. Again, they can blow out calls too. I mean, I imagine people probably buying calls today. Right? Like people being aggressive either way. I mean, yeah, it's goes both ways. The market makers sell options, puts and calls. I have no idea about options. Can you explain what blowing? Well, again, then this is probably not the platform for this. You should probably do a little study and watch some YouTube because, again, I don't like teaching people options because they're grenades. They're literally grenades. If you don't know how to trade them, it's like, here's a basketball. Go try to compete against LeBron and the boys. Good luck with that. Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, this is the thing I was reading yesterday, and some of the folks who were talking about, again, when you buy the calls and the implied volatility is so high and the VIX is high, unless the stock really rallies, you might see a compression in the value of the actual option. Because, obviously in the money, at the money, out of the money really matters. If you bought out of the money and it's still out of the money and the VIX has come down, you might not be making a ton of money. Yeah, they're going to try to eat away the IV. I mean, it's VIX termination, OPEX. It's kind of what they do, folks. As much as you'd like to say for sure, how it plays out. Honestly, again, I think the headlines are really what's driving this. It's not anything technical. It's not anything logical. It's not anything that makes sense. You're seeing the headlines. Everything is okay. That's what's going on here. So, again, if you want to learn options, not the place to learn. I know I've got my rules. I teach it to people, but I honestly, if you can't even trade the direction in the stock market and you don't know how to take profits and trade around positions, then you should not be trading options. It's like giving a child a keys to your brand new Tesla that goes 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. Enjoy it. They're going to crash that thing. So, and most people will crash their accounts. That's usually how it all goes. Everyone does at some point. You put a bunch of money in there, you get hot, you make a couple thousand, you make a double, triple, quadruple. I mean, maybe you 10x your account, and then you think you're actually really good. And the truth is that you just got lucky. You got going with the market. And one of the things about options, again, is then people buy. They start thinking, well, this is going to happen today. It's going to happen next week. It's going to happen right now. And they buy too little time. They buy out of the money. They start really playing this I'm omnipotent. I can predict every day, every trend. Next thing you know, kapow. Their options account went from living on high, being the best, to can't buy a bucket. All right. Keep an eye on the market. Yeah, we're popping up and has a little, man, we're literally topping as we speak. QQ, are we going to get the wick? Do we go 298? Give me 2 seconds. I'm just curious to see what's happening on the 10-minute. Do we have to get back to the 298 level? Oh, I went back in time too far. Potentially. You got like you got 4 candles here. I'd watch for the wick. If it comes back down, that'd be bearish. If it doesn't, it might be able to rally a little higher. All right, I got to run. You guys have a great day. Please be thoughtful. Do your own homework. If you really want to learn. No, I'm from a poor family trying to make it. No, you can't beg. You got to do the work. You don't want someone to just to feed you answers. That, again, teach a man how to fish and catch fish forever. If you just want me to throw you a fish, again, there's no guarantee. That's the wrong mindset about trading. Oh, just teach me how to do this. No. Take your own money, study your ass off, figure it out. You're not going to make it to the top in trading by literally just getting free answers or thinking that you're going to figure it out in one day. So you shouldn't even be trading. That's the problem here, is most people should literally not be trading. If you can't give it your all and you think you're going to compete and do well against the market, just put your money back in the bank. It's safer than trading it. Talk to you later.